Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 6.
Supporters of today's march in the downtown Fargo area aren't happy with Mayor Tim Mahoney. They let him know during the otherwise peaceful march to commemorate Juneteenth, the day when slaves were freed. Valley News Team's Joshua Pagero was there and has our story.
Crowds brought their signs calling for racial equality, defunding the police, and holding politicians accountable.
I face racism a lot, to be truthful. So, but I get over it, because I'm bigger than that,
Some were upset at Mayor Tim Mahoney for issuing an emergency declaration Thursday ahead of Fargo's Juneteenth march.
I decided to show up to show solidarity to the community because it's wrong to declare a state of emergency for a peaceful protest.
Mahoney brought a proclamation with him to Island Park to recognize the day when in 1865 slaves were freed.
I think our community is aware, they are listening. When sometimes people say they haven't been heard, we're hearing. We're getting a lot of dialogue. I think throughout the community you're getting dialogue. And it's just trying to find a path forward.
Yet whatever peace there was between organizers of the event and the mayor dissolved once things began.
They decided to obstruct this celebratory day, this monumental moment. And then you come here and you want to take part and you want to be on the stage and you want your verse heard. That's not how this works anymore.
Wes Philomay of the Group 1 Fargo called out Mahoney for the declaration. Audience members did not want Mahoney speaking.
All right, y'all. We're going to let the mayor speak.
And he and his son were booed off stage after reading the proclamation.
They weren't having it. Today was not his stage and they weren't going to allow it.
Philomay and local leaders of Black Lives Matter led the peaceful march to City Hall. People also shouted, "Prosecute the police."
We can't take these things personally, and we can't have thin skin when it comes to situations like that, and just continue that open dialogue.
Officers say this event allows them to communicate with members of the community. In Fargo, Joshua Pagero, Valley News Live.
There's another march planned tomorrow morning. It's scheduled to start at 10 at the Johnson American Legion soccer fields near NDSU. Absolutely delightful day so far. Hope you had a chance to get out and enjoy it. But I'm hearing talk of some trouble out there, not for tonight, but possibly tomorrow. Let's begin with details on your Friday night weather planner. Here's Hutch.
Mike, thanks so much. Right now, we are high and dry. Temperature's not overly high. The wind not overly high as well. A beautiful night, as mentioned. A few showers out to the west, though, could impact a few of our counties as we go into the overnight hours. But for this evening, beautiful. Northwest Minnesota, cooler, mid and upper 60s there. The rest of us are in the 70s. And here's a look at the Dakota Magic Casino on the golf course there. Beautiful weather to get out and hit some golf balls tonight. Temperatures slipping into the 60s after sunset, light winds. Quiet here in Fargo. Notice by the pictures some darker and more cloud cover there in the Grand Forks area. Temperatures in the 70s now, slipping into the 60s. Our northern counties will have the best chance of evening and overnight thunder showers that will not be severe. Tomorrow night, a chance of strong to severe thunderstorms where you see the dark green and yellow areas. Hail and damaging wind, the main concern. And Mike, I'll have hour-by-hour details on when and where we expect these storms to roam here in a couple of moments.
All right, look forward to that. Thanks. All across our country, thousands are taking to the streets to mark the 155th Juneteenth. Reporter Skylar Henry is in Washington, D.C. with our story.
Demonstrators gathered across the country and here in the nation's capital to celebrate Juneteenth.
It's a part of our history, so I encourage celebrating everything about Black history.
No justice, no peace. This year's commemoration has a special meaning. Weeks of protests sparked by racially charged killings of several African Americans by police or civilians has raised the awareness of the annual June 19th memorial.
This is my son, who's 20 years old. And I hate that I have to worry about him every single day. I think these protests have been very positive.
Professional athletes from the Washington Wizards and Mystics basketball teams led a march to the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial, where they read the names of some of those killed.
George Floyd.
The Trump administration released a statement commemorating the date. The White House press secretary also defended President Trump from backlash over a Wall Street Journal interview this week, in which the president said he made Juneteenth famous.
His presence routinely commemorated Juneteenth. He did not just learn about Juneteenth this week. That's simply not true. And And as to Juneteenth, there were a lot of people who didn't know what Juneteenth was.
The president rescheduled a planned campaign rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma from Juneteenth to Saturday after widespread outcries over the original date.
Former Vice President Joe Biden, the presumptive Democratic nominee, is expected to speak shortly during a virtual social justice conference. Meanwhile, Senator Kamala Harris and Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee have introduced bills to make the Juneteenth a national holiday. Governor Tim Walz has proclaimed that June 19th be recognized as Juneteenth Freedom Day in Minnesota. The governor also called on the legislature to work with the community to establish a state holiday recognizing Juneteenth. First-degree felony murder charges have now been filed against two people for the death of their 5-year-old foster child. 42-year-old Eric Longi and 45-year-old Tammy Longi are also facing a child abuse and neglect charge for the way they treated Raven and her 7-year-old brother. It happened on the Spirit Lake Reservation. Federal law enforcement showed up on May 6th when Tammy says she found Raven's body. An autopsy showed Raven suffered injuries consistent with assault. She had injuries on her head, neck, chest, and other extremities. Authorities in Deer River, Minnesota say the body of a missing 41-year-old man has been found. The report of the missing adult male came Wednesday at the Schoolcraft State Park on the Mississippi River near Deer River. Authorities say 41-year-old man had walked away from friends in that area earlier in the evening. After a search of the campground in the state forest area, the body was recovered from the river. His name is being withheld. Mandy Holte is thanking the community for their continued support. Her husband, Grand Forks police officer Cody Holte, lost his life in the line of duty in May. In a written statement, she says in part, "It's now been over 3 weeks since the tragic death of our beloved Cody, adoring husband and devoted daddy. Although our grief remains strong, Gunnar and I have been able to rejoice in the persistent, steadfast support from the community of Grand Forks and across the region." Officer Holte died on May 27th when he was shot while helping other officers on an eviction call at a Grand Forks apartment building. To read Mandy's full statement, head to our website, valleynewslive.com, and click on this story. Another person has died in North Dakota from COVID-19, bringing the death toll to 76. The newest death was a woman in her 90s from Cass County. She had underlying health conditions. The state is now reporting 33 new cases, bringing the active case number to 310. 2,840 people are listed as recovered. Minnesota is reporting 17 new deaths from the virus, bringing the death toll to 1,361. Of those deaths, 1,077 happened in a long-term care facility. 362 new cases are reported, bringing the active case count to 2,961. 27,709 people are listed as recovered. Minnesota officials haven't yet decided how the state's K-12 schools will reopen this fall, but they say schools should plan for 3 scenarios. Those are in-person learning, hybrid learning with distancing and capacity limits, or online-only learning. Health and education officials are promising a decision by the last week of July and warn school officials that they may need to switch models mid-year. The continued wait has drawn criticism from some Republican leaders who say schools need guidance now. They're proposing that local districts and administrators should be allowed to make the decisions they think best. Essentia Health has adjusted its visitor policy. Visitor hours are between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. daily at hospitals and the clinic. 1 adult visitor will be allowed per patient in all areas, including the emergency department. Chaplains and clergy will also be allowed to visit hospital patients. There are designated visitor entrances, and they will be screened. Symptomatic people will not be allowed in, and masks are required. And there are still no visitors allowed for COVID-19 positive patients except in end-of-life situations. The World Health Organization says that the coronavirus pandemic is accelerating, with yesterday's 150,000 new cases, the highest in a single day, and nearly half of those in the Americas. More than 8.5 million people have been reported infected by the coronavirus globally, and 453,000 have died. The WHO continues to urge people to maintain social distancing and extreme vigilance.
The world is in a new and dangerous phase. Many people are understandably fed up with being at home. Countries are understandably eager to open up their societies and economies. But the virus is still spreading fast.
The doctor also says COVID-19 has demonstrated that no one is safe until we are all safe. Later on Valley News Live at 6, a steroid may be the answer in successfully treating patients seriously ill with COVID-19.
Refreshing cool today. Temperatures in the 60s in parts of Minnesota, 70s here in eastern North Dakota. We have some strong thunderstorms expected in your Saturday forecast. I'll have the very latest coming up right after this.